On your mark, get set. Let's go.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Mister, will you please wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up?
Good morning, Kevin Durant. You should have left California.
This Bronx will upset me in having to bring this teenage idiot from Wisconsin into a sports conversation. Are you really surprised that the Cowboys are giving up on Ezekiel Elliott?
Whoa. Hell no! Well, no one cares about baseball.
Bitch, are you for real?
Yeah! Woo! Time to get down to business and time to make this thing pop, y'all. Whoops. I didn't mean to press that button. I meant to press that one. Good morning. Welcome to the Taco Tuesday edition of Snowman in the Morning. Glad to have y'all with us. Man, we got a lot to get to over the next 180 minutes, but I got some people to welcome. Want to welcome. We are stacked and packed, as you know, with some great sports talk as we take you on a 180-minute journey in the region, across the nation, and around the world. We welcome those of you watching via Snowman via YouTube, I beg your pardon, on both the Snowman Multimedia YouTube channels, the Shady Sports Network YouTube channel. Also, those of you watching on Zebo TV as well as BS3 TV. Also, welcome to those of you in your ears on WIRU-DB in Chicago, the brand new WEIS-DB also in Chicago, WQEE in Atlanta, KSOS in Salem, Oregon, and WLEO in Baltimore. And we welcome those of you listening via our flagship radio station, Snowman Multimedia Sports Radio. If you are interested in sponsoring this program or having this program air on your station, drop an email to info@snowmanmultimedia.com. This first portion of today's show is brought to you by BetUS.com. The NBA, NHL, and Major League Baseball are in full swing. March Madness is right around the corner. And if you want the best action, BetUS.com is the way to go. The sportsbook is celebrating their 30th year with the best action at the best time. Log on to BetUS.com. Use the code Snowman for a 125% deposit match. BetUS.com, where the game begins. I know I put out a description of what I was going to do in this first segment, but I'm totally going to call an audible because there's a young fellow who I haven't had on the show in 4 years. We're going to end that this morning, and he has got some things to discuss. This is my super producer, the big dog, Shane Lake, who joins me right now. Good morning, my man. Great to have you.
Good morning, brother. What's popping?
You see, I'm very well caffeinated this morning, right?
It's going to be a fun 3 hours. I'm going to tell you that right now, and there is a lot to discuss.
There certainly is, man. Let's have an hour with the big dog. What's the first thing you got on your docket?
Well, I'm switching up my lineup because I brought this up to you yesterday. I left you a message on Facebook, and we're going to enter the world I know best, video games. NCAA is bringing back their college football franchise for EA. Yep. Thank God, finally.
Yes.
But there's also a little bit of unfairness in this because I see it as they're underpaying the athletes that are going to be featured in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we know, there's 134 FBS schools that's going to be in the game, but out of the 11,000 athletes that are available to actually be put in the game, EA is only going to be paying them $600 and giving them a copy of the game to be represented.
I mean, how does that help the students?
It doesn't. It truly doesn't, because they're going to make that back up, because that's $6.6 million. They're going to make that back up on launch, because we all know they're going to sell 160+ thousand copies on launch.
And you know everybody's going to be lining up around the corner to get the darn thing.
Yeah, because we haven't had a college football game in what? A decade plus now? I mean,
13 years. 13 years.
that they're going to be right lined up around the block and then some to get a copy of this.
Oh yeah, and you're only paying $600 for this.
For the
Yeah,
athletes who
Victor Locke just said it, and Victor's going to join us for the second hour. EA has always been cheap. I mean, their games are expensive as all get out, which is why I don't play them in the first place. People telling me all the time, you've heard the discussions of that people will have with me online. You're missing out if you don't play EA. You're missing out. No, I'm not, because I watch college football games live and let y'all fight over EA. And Victor brings up a great point. EA has always been cheap.
They've dropped the ball when it's come to the Madden franchise. I mean, the last few years, the Madden franchise alone has fallen off the radar when it comes to performance. This year alone.
That's horrible, considering Madden was the master of the telestrator. Anybody remember 1982 when he introduced the telestrator? And oddly enough, and you know this, Victor knows it. Oh, hi, Winnie. Winnie decided to join me out of the rainstorm this morning. Madden introduced the telestrator during Super Bowl 16. And now as you said, the Madden franchise fell off. Now you got this with EA. And looking at this story that I have here, and I'm glad I have this queued up, 10,000 players are going to be in the game. And as you said, best buddy, they're only getting $600 in a copy of the game. What good is a copy of the game going to do them to get through college?
It's not. I mean, $600 might cover some books and some lunch. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to be. That might be influential for a semester or two, but what about afterwards? Unless they bring more into it, there you go.
Let me bring Victor Locke into the conversation. Good morning, Victor.
Good morning, Snowman. What's going on?
The big dog is here. Victor Locke is here. And we're leading off with the return of EA college football. It's a good news, bad news kind of situation. And I want you, Victor, to expound on your point that you made in the chat about how cheap EA has always been. You've played the game longer than I, and you know EA has always been cheap.
I've played Madden ever since Madden 92, like back when it was Sega Genesis Madden. So yes. I've always played Madden games.
Turner.
Yeah,
it is. It is.
My uncle, God rest his soul, he was the one that introduced me to Madden and the Sega Genesis. So I've been big behind it. Here's the thing. EA has always had really crappy practices when it comes to how their games run and also how they really cheat the players and the players of the game and also players of the sport. Because $600 in the copy of the game, that's an insult. Yeah, remember,
it is an insult.
Remember, some of these individuals don't have full ride scholarships. Some individuals don't have room and board.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if they say, hey, we're going to foot the bill for your room and board, we'll foot the bill for your tuition for that year or whatever case may be, maybe that would give them better incentive. But just $600, that's not going to do anything. It's maybe a couple, like maybe 30 packs of ramen noodles, and that's about it.
That's about
pretty much.
That's it. Because I'm going off of what I went through in 1990 at college, and my parents had to send me a lot of food, even though I had the dorm food and everything.
Mm-hmm.
How is $600 going to cover even a quarter of the costs that happen on a monthly basis? Because you can, given how expensive colleges are now compared to when I went in 1990, $600 can fly out in a snap.
And take it this way. They're going to sell this game at least $60 per unit.
Oh yeah.
So $60 per unit, which I'm pretty sure this game is going to be a great sale. All you can spare is $600 at all that.
It's like the big dog. It's like the big dog just said. They're going to make that back first day.
Yeah.
Everything they're supposedly paying the students, they're going to make that back first day. And some of these kids are not going to be available to be in the game, and B, don't want to participate in the game. Speaking of participate, you got to get down, Winnie Pooh. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's a travesty that they're getting treated like this for a franchise that is going to be on the rebound, and everyone's going to be lining up out the door because, as we said, first time in 13 years, NCAA has actually had a college football game.
Yes.
Yep.
And I remember back in the day when they actually used to have a partnership with Madden, so that if you had a character in NCAA, you could actually port your character from NCAA over to Madden,
Over to Madden. Absolutely.
which was a
Absolutely.
big deal. So a lot of people really wanted to get the NCAA games specifically for that reason, to have that nice journey with your character going from high school, going through college, through the NCAA, and then going to the pros. You haven't had that in a while. So that's a big selling point for EA. Instead of just going to nickel and dime the fans and nickel and dime the players as they always have.
The big
Yeah.
dog Shane Lake, along with Victor Locke, joining us here as we talk everything EA. It's more bad news than good news.
Yeah, it
It
is.
is.
Unfortunately,
It's more bad news than good news. And I'm gonna hop on a personal soapbox when it comes to this game. I know this to hopefully not be true. But who is to say that they won't allow any players from the team I follow, which y'all know is the Northwestern Wildcats, into the game? Who's to say?
I mean,
You want to talk about unfair? You want to talk about unfair? Now, I am saying this purely A, off an assumption, and B, off of a soapbox. I get that. I understand that. That could totally change when the game is released. But here's why I'm bringing this up as part of this game. Anybody remember the 2020 Big Ten championship in Indianapolis? And how Ohio State and how Northwestern was in control for 3.5 quarters?
Right.
Yeah.
Here's why I bring that up. With the expansion of the playoff, the biggest what if from that COVID-ridden season is, what if Northwestern would have pulled the upset in Indy?
That would have been major.
You see where I'm going with this now? With the past history of the Northwestern Wildcats, and remember, they've made 2 appearances in the Big Ten Championship, 2018 and 2020. And we know the scandal that happened with Pat Fitzgerald and the coach that they have in now, and they still turn it around into a bowl season. All right. They turn it around into a bowl season. Who's to say that EA won't be fair to a lot of these schools that don't get as much pub as, say, maybe an Ohio State or an Alabama or a Georgia or anybody like that?
The 2 words that will doom any video game out there, and especially sports games: dev discretion.
Yes. And what
you see it everywhere. You see it everywhere in sports games, whether it's MLB The Show, whether ironically it is Madden. They've had a few issues with players in the past bringing legends back. Same with MLB The Show. I mean, that's through contracts, through like the Hall of Fame.
Right.
NBA 2K has had issues. Everything NHL with their game through EA has had problems. Dev discretion is a pain in the ass, and frankly, there needs to be a big switch when it comes down to things.
Yeah,
which is not going to be.
Unfortunately, no.
Look how long it took them to expand the. We've all talked about this. Look how long it took them to expand the playoff because it didn't want to come off the money. And
Exactly.
now EA is copying the model. They don't want to come off the money.
EA probably made the model.
You're not wrong.
Even with the Sega Genesis partnership that you mentioned, Victor, EA created the model.
Let's look at this.
Come on, who did not see this coming?
Let's look at this.
All right.
One of the biggest controversies EA had was when they came out with Star Wars Battlefront 2. Originally, they had, like, I believe it was Darth Vader and a couple of the characters that you could just grind for and get through the game. Then they re-released the game, but put Darth Vader and those characters behind a paywall of like $99.
Yep.
EA has found so many ways to screw over their fan base, and who said they won't do it to the players?
It's loopholes.
It is. It really is.
It's flat out loopholes that they find to screw over the players and screw over the university. Now, I will say the universities are not worried about EA and their practices because hey, two sides of the same coin.
They're not losing the money. They're not.
And I'm not afraid. And I'm not afraid to call it out either. Y'all know me. Y'all know me. I'm not afraid to call it out. It's two sides of the same coin. Just like with the college football playoff, it's two sides of the same coin. ESPN, anyone?
Right. And I mean, the funny thing is, because I was reading through a lot of this again earlier this morning as I was checking through the Twitter, they're not even having the coaches represented in the game,
which pisses me off. Which pisses me off, man.
Right.
You won't have Nick Saban. You'll have the players, but you won't have Nick Saban. You'll have the players, but you don't have Kirby Smart. You'll have you have the players, but here I go on my soapbox again, and y'all know where I'm going. You won't have Pat Fitzgerald or Gary Barnett
for Madden. They barely do that for Madden. You don't see Lovie Smith on there. You rarely see Lovie Smith or Ron Rivera on there.
You know,
you rarely
the
see the
coach that they should
Madden on there.
You know, the coach or coaches. I'll give you a couple that they should have had on Madden. Especially when it came out and they didn't have him. Bill Walsh, Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah,
true.
Tell me why they didn't honor the godfather of the West Coast offense. Tell me why that's the case.
I'll do you one better, Snowman. To this day, they still don't have Bill Belichick as the head coach of the Patriots.
And they never will.
No.
And they never will. I'll go one further than that, since we're all talking old school coaches. Speaking of Bill, we mentioned Bill Walsh, mentioned Bill Belichick. How about Bill Parcells?
The tuna.
Yep. How about Bill Parcells? How about Tom Landry? All right. Honor the coach. I understand EA wanting to honor the players and pay the players, if you want to call it that. But A, be fair. B, you don't have to be frugal when it comes to the players, because the university is going to make that money back on the first game of ticket sales. All right.
Easily.
Give an example. Georgia could play Wofford, which is a school in the South, the Wofford Terriers, and they'll still sell out Sanford Stadium.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, easily.
They'll still sell out Sanford Stadium. They'll make that back at the gate.
Look at
in
USC.
A blink.
Look at
Oh
USC.
my God. You think
USC will make that back in a monster moment?
Man, the schools in California. You know what? Let's take a break and let's go into the messed up thing that we like to call conference realignment, if you want to call it that.
Oh,
because
God,
this all ties in to the EA fiasco. Later on, we'll talk Russell Wilson. You fired. And why I believe he will not be signed in a fiery Snowman's take. And also we'll pay some tribute to Jason Kelsey. And yes, we are going to talk some baseball. We're just getting started here on this Tuesday edition of Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. Back in a flash. Attention sports fans, looking for the ultimate gear and apparel to show your team pride? Look no further than Fanatics, the #1 destination for sports enthusiasts. Visit snowmanmultimediasports.com today and shop a wide selection of officially licensed merchandise from your favorite teams and players. From jerseys to hats to accessories to collectibles, Fanatics has it all. Don't miss out on the chance to elevate your game day experience. Head over to snowmanmultimediasports.com/fanatics and gear up like a true fan with Fanatics. Officially licensed everything. Are you ready to upgrade your coffee game? Prepare for an invasion of flavor with Invader Coffee. It's the caffeinated elixir that fuels champions, the blend that pushes boundaries. Whether you're battling deadlines or exploring uncharted territories, Invader Coffee has your back. Join the invasion at invadercoffee.com and taste the difference for yourself. Use the code SNOWMAN for 15% off your first order. Invader Coffee, veteran owned.
Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you, and you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast, every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
Well, my dearest, the ID you need is at SNWMN Multimedia, and that's for all of our social media outlets. We made the change beginning the 1st of this month. That voice you heard, many have asked me, that's my beautiful wife, Jody, bringing us back from break, along with the big dog and Victor Locke, Brian Snow here, a.k.a. Snowman. This Wednesday, the Women's Big Ten Tournament begins from the Target Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and yours truly, Brian Snow, will call every single game in that tournament. We kick everything off at 4:30 with a special hour-long pregame show presented by BetUS.com. Then at 5:30, we kick all the action off with Northwestern and Purdue. BetUS.com, where the game begins, will take you from start on Wednesday to finish on Sunday of the Women's Big Ten Tournament. And every game in that tournament is live on Snowman Multimedia on both the Snowman Multimedia channels. And I may get an assist from the big dog throughout the course of the tournament. So hang tight, folks. We'll start the party Wednesday night. Victor Locke, Shane Lake here with the Snowman, and we talked about the return of EA and how that is screwing over the players. Mm-hmm. And Shane brought up a wonderful point that the coaches are not included in this. Mm-hmm. He brings up a wonderful point that the players are not the coaches, I beg your pardon, are not included in this. I want to bring up this point and tie it into something we have talked about individually, but we and Total Football Talk, God bless those brothers, are the only shows that will say this aloud. You realize the expansion of the playoff is going to benefit the committee and not the schools?
Mm-hmm. You're not wrong. You are not wrong.
Find the lie. Find the damn lie.
As CM Punk once said, tell me when I'm telling lies.
Right.
Find the lie. It's not going to benefit the schools at all. It's going to benefit the committee, and it's going to benefit the NCAA as well. You're going to expand to 12 teams after starting with only 4.
Right.
All right. First of all, why didn't you start with 8?
Would have been
you should start. Yeah, you should start off with more teams.
I mean, as it is, look at the controversy from this past year.
Yes.
Florida State, anybody?
Ooh.
Listen, let me break down Florida State. And the Playmaker and I talked about this for a good hour. You know why Florida State didn't get in the playoff? A, they didn't beat anybody of significance, even though they ran the table. And B, in a simple question, who the hell did they play? The AC, and I'm going to borrow from our good buddy Jay Spivey, our fellow insider. The ACC sucked.
Right.
Let's just be totally real.
The ACC was like the NFC East this year.
Yeah.
Oof.
Or NFC least.
Oof.
All right. The NFC least with the Redskins, and yes, I said Redskins, Giants, Eagles, and Cowboys. Mm-hmm. All right. The ACC was like the NFC least. Period. Hell, if you really want to be honest about it and compare it to 2 divisions in the NFL, look at both South divisions in the NFL.
Yeah.
There's the ACC. There's the even though I'm sporting my beautiful wife's team, the Indianapolis Colts. I didn't say it right. The Indianapolis Colts. Even she told me, here's a funny one for y'all. Even she told me, and she posed a question to me. She said, "You're the sports expert of the house. Why are the Colts in the South Division?" I said, "Baby, I can't answer that.
Why is there no Central Division?
They blew up both Central Divisions.
There should be a Central Division.
look at it this way. Why are the Cowboys in the East when they should belong in the South?
They should belong in the Southwest. Would it be the West or the South? It should be at least one of those.
I'll go one step further. You know a team that was in the NFC East for years until they moved, and I'm gonna ruffle a lot of feathers when I say my next four words.
Cards?
St. Louis Football Cardinals.
Yep, I was gonna say Cardinals.
Yep, St. Louis Cardinals. They were in the NFC East for years. Back to the point at hand. The dissolution of the Pac-12 conference, which is going bye-bye. You got 14, now 16 teams in the Big Ten conference. I've said it for years, and Victor has heard me complain about it. Make that make sense.
It doesn't.
Right. It doesn't.
That all started with Penn State bringing their asses into the Big Ten conference, and I know why they did it. Okay, I am not that illogically fit to know why Penn State went to the Big Ten. Money and eyes. It's too easy. Okay, Rutgers, same thing. They weren't getting any eyes on the Big East, which is stupid to me, because you would think. Here I go telling the truth again. You would think with the invention of ESPN Plus in 1997, and they had the contract with the Big East, right? Shane, you know this. You live out in that area. Find the lie.
There is none. Absolutely none.
Nope.
And here's the bigger problem. Here's the bigger problem I've got with this, Snowman. Here's the bigger problem I've got with this. There's now 16 teams, as you said. The pie is getting smaller for all the teams involved. Why not have multiple divisions where you can have a bigger piece of the pie? Granted, you're going to have to fight for TV rights a little bit more, but at the same token, you're going to get more of those rights than you would getting your ass kicked by one of the other divisions.
Well, let's start with the Pac-12. Okay. Everybody's saying that this past year, with all the teams jettisoning their way out, saying that was the end of the Pac-12. No, it wasn't. The Pac-12 was ended when two teams showed up, Utah and Colorado.
Yep.
Which had no damn business in the Pac-10. None. You had your teams in California. You had your teams in Washington. You had your teams in Arizona. Everything was fine. But now, Utah and Colorado. Well, first of all, Colorado was bitching because they had gotten a foot put in their ass in 2005. Thank you, Vince Young.
Yep.
When you have 70 points put on you in a conference championship game in Texas's backyard, basically,
you didn't belong.
You tend to think things. You tend to think about things, and they ain't won a doggone thing since until 2000. Let me get this right. Until 2016. When they found their way, and I stress the word found their way, into the Pac-12 championship in Santa Clara.
Yep.
Find the lie.
None to be found.
Colorado didn't do a damn thing. Colorado didn't do a damn thing for 11 years after they got a foot put in their ass by Vince Young and the Texas Longhorns. It makes you think a little bit psychologically when you have 70 points hung on you, right?
You wonder why you're there in the first place.
Right.
In a conference championship game. And I'll tell you, two conferences, if they were alive today, would have money hand over fist to host a conference championship game. The Big Eight and the Southwest Conference. And all that started when Arkansas left the Southwest Conference in 1990 for the SEC. Logistically, I can see why Arkansas took off. Logistically, I can see it. And it's paid, and too many points, it's paid off for them. 1994, hello, national champions when they won in Charlotte, okay, for basketball. Football hasn't paid off as much.
Right.
But I have this feeling it will. But the Southwest Conference, go ahead, Shane.
Arkansas needs to find their way on the football field, plain and simple. They're running into too many roadblocks.
They need to win the recruiting battles. And they're not.
They do.
And they're
Alabama.
not. Not just Alabama, Georgia, Auburn.
Yep. Florida.
SEC mainstays. Florida. Thank you. Florida.
LSU.
LSU.
Arkansas
And all
needs
this
to figure that out.
And all this ties into what we opened the show with the EA game discussions and how the players are getting stiffed. Tell me that is not going to impact the recruiting with these NIL deals.
Oh,
not only with these NIL deals, but now with this EA deal, if you want to call it that. Tell me that's not going to impact the recruiting, because now you put everything in the hands. Let's start with the SEC. You put everything in the hands of 3 schools: Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia. Mm-hmm. And I highlight Tennessee because Tennessee was the closest to beating Georgia in the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Alabama are the kings of the SEC. We know that even with Saban's retirement. Okay. Right. Georgia ran through everybody 29 straight times until they got to Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, which is a goal of mine to bring my crew to Atlanta this coming season for the SEC championship. Try and stop us if you dare.
Road trip.
Right.
Big road trip. Let's see. Me, Jody, Victor, James McCallum, the big dog, his wife. Yeah. Cole Johnson. Got to bring him and his wife too. Drew Willingham. Got to bring him too. Let's rent a bus and go to Atlanta for the SEC championship. Anyway, all this is affecting the NIL. The NIL deals are now in the hands of 2 conferences, the Big Ten and the SEC. No one else is getting a fair shake with the NIL deals. And here's the mistake that the NCAA made with the NIL deals, which ties in to EA Sports. They put the governing rules in the hands of the states.
They did. And I mean, this is how college football has basically been run for how long now? Is through those 2 divisions.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple. Those 2 divisions own college sports right now. Plain and simple.
Even before Penn State showed up and showed out in the Big Ten.
Right.
Even before Penn State showed up and showed out. It was even back in the 80s when I first got into college football. Big Ten, SEC. Big Ten was on CBS. SEC was on ABC.
Yep.
I haven't even heard of ESPN because I got all my college basketball on the house.
Let's not forget NBC sticking their nose in too.
Notre Dame games.
Notre Dame
games, yeah.
And Notre Dame was tied to ABC.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they were.
Here we go. No one else will mention this except yours truly. Notre Dame was tied into ESPN and ABC until 1990.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that.
That lifetime exclusive contract
mm-hmm.
for NBC to broadcast all Notre Dame games.
Yep.
Which brings this question to mind, since we're talking NIL deals and all kinds of money. How much money has to exchange hands if Notre Dame runs the table?
Oof.
I brought this up before and the chat was lit up, so I'm going to light it up again.
Mm-hmm.
How much money has to change hands? How many NIL deals have to be signed? How many packages from EA have to be given away if Notre Dame runs the table and only gets the number 5 seed in the playoffs? Why?
I don't have enough time to calculate how many zeros that's going to take.
Right.
You're looking at
Jane,
billion.
my wife's Christmas present to me. I don't have enough time either. But the question has to be. Someone posed this question to me. Someone posed this question to me, and it's a wonderful question. And good morning to the Hawk TV and Sig Diggy and the Fanatics feedback zone. Man,
what's up, boys?
It has to be asked, and it's got to continue to be asked, because Notre Dame in 2020, during the height of COVID, had an affiliate association with the Atlantic Coast Conference. You know how many eyes that brought the ACC when Notre Dame was involved?
Oh yeah,
A
Huh?
ton.
yeah.
It was shattering. That's what it was. It was
And
shattering.
remember Notre Dame sprang 2 upsets, Clemson
Yeah.
and North Carolina.
Mhm.
I was there for both of them. I was in North Carolina to watch both of them. Hell, wife and I got popcorn for the 2 overtime thriller at Notre Dame Stadium when they played Clemson. Come on, y'all. And 11,000 people are at Notre Dame Stadium. You tell me it didn't sound like a full house
Oh, it
at
did.
Notre Dame Stadium.
It did. It
Now
really
tell me
did.
how fair this expansion is going to be, because and we'll tie it into the first segment we talked about this morning. We'll tie it in to EA Sports and then bringing back college football. I'm going to say this aloud, and I'm going to ruffle a lot of feathers. EA didn't do this right at all.
No, they didn't.
No.
They did not
Far
do
from
this
it.
right at all.
Far from it.
And Shane, I thank you for sending me that message last night. And I totally didn't look at it this morning. I was helping my wife get out of here because she was running late, and I'm so glad we called an audible on this to discuss it. EA did not do this right at all. They're being unfair to the kids. They're being unfair to the coaches. And they're totally kissing the asses of the schools.
Oh, yeah. Easily.
I'll say it again, and I'll say it loud. They're being unfair to the kids. They're being unfair to the coaches by not having them in the game at all. And they're totally kissing the asses of A, the schools, and B, the NCAA, which is a $10 billion entity.
Because they know that those entities are the reason why they can make the game in the first place, because the NCAA can put the kibosh on it at any given time. The schools can pull their support at any given time.
Not just that, but let's put it this way. Who's the rival competitor to make a rival game? No one.
Mm-hmm.
That's true too.
Like like Vince McMahon did.
Yeah, because you
bought
remember,
bought WCW and had no competition.
Because think about this. Back in the day, there wasn't just Madden. You also had the live games, NBA Live, NFL Live. Remember Quarterback Club?
Oh, dear
NFL
God.
Quarterback Club?
Oh, dear Lord.
How about ESPN Monday Night Football?
ESPN Monday Night Football. Mm-hmm.
Man.
There were so many different avenues for games at the time, for sports games at the time, that sometimes they didn't need to bend the knee for the organizations. They could
Would you
just go
say that
somewhere else.
Victor, would you say that again, please, for those of us in the cheap seats at Old Dyke Stadium at Northwestern? Please say that again.
They did not have to bend the knee for a lot of these organizations because they could just go somewhere else.
Yes.
They have another distributor. But now you only have a handful of distributors. I mean, you don't even have 2K's not even doing other sports except for WWE. They used to do MLB, NBA. They
had their hands in everything.
Dude, 2K does do the NBA games. EA
they still do. Oh, okay.
Okay.
MLB is run through San Diego studios.
Right.
San Diego.
I used to play MLB 2K a lot.
That's a show in San Diego. That's a show in and of itself, but we'll save that for a later time. Let's pause for a break. Do me a favor, folks. Support the stream via Cash App. The tag you need is $Tallman Dr. K50 or $host Cole Johnson to help us out. When we come back, more football talk. Dear Russell Wilson, you fired. Next.